Hello, Unified community. Welcome to the Unified Exchange podcast, where we at Special Olympics Minnesota share ideas and stories that foster inclusion in and outside the classroom. Each episode, you can expect us to cover a variety of topics to help grow the unified programming happening at your school. Our hope is that these conversations can inspire change, cultivate leaders, and transform environments that embrace each other's differences.
Welcome to the Unified Exchange podcast. We are so excited to introduce our audience to art educator Erin Boe. Erin, would you mind introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your experience as an art educator?
Sure. Hi, I'm Erin Boe, and I am an art teacher at Maple Grove Senior High. Before that, I was at Park Center Senior High, both in the Osseo district. I teach a lot of different classes. I teach jewelry, photography, drawing, comic art, but my very favorite class is Unified Art.
So Erin and I had met a few years ago when I attended her Unified Art class. My background is actually in art as well, and so when I first was involved in Unified, it was through seeing a student attend an art class and not having much interaction with the other students, but I also was able to see how that student was able to relax and just fully be themselves within the art class. So when I started working at Special Olympics Minnesota, it was really a dream of what could that unified art be. Through art, I think people are able to communicate without words and express themselves, and it just seemed like a really beautiful medium. So I had asked, has anyone heard about a unified art class? And I was sent to Erin's class and just fell in love with the atmosphere and the community and the work that she was creating. So we met and talked a little bit about what unified art could look like. When you started, did you have any support, or how did that kind of know?
No, I was actually a brand new teacher, and I was teaching during COVID, and it was 100% online. And I remember one of the classes that just got added to my schedule, they were like, guess what? You're managing a ceramic studio, which I had never done before, and you're teaching unified art. And I said, what's unified art? And they were like, we don't really know. And so then I feel like I kind of reached out to Special Olympics or did a little digging, and I kind of got the gist because there was like Unified Gym at the time. And so I understood that it was, kids who were general education and then kids who received special education services coming together to foster inclusion. But there were no resources, there was no curriculum, and so I really made it up as I went. And again, it was 100% virtual at the time, so it was like, what does everyone have in their home? We were like tracing coins and making mandalas and stuff like that from household objects. So I kind of had to invent it as I went along.
I think something that I noticed and loved immediately about your class was your ability to create an inclusive space. What experience did you have like in your life and your background that enabled you to do that?
Yeah, prior to working as a teacher, I worked at Minnesota Independence College and Community, and that was young adults 18 to 23 who had autism and other learning disabilities. And so after graduating from high school, there's often this drop off. And so we were teaching real skills for real life was what we called it, sort of the hidden curriculum of writing resumes, how to hop on a bus. And I was an art instructor there, and I just was absolutely in love with working with that population. And so it was kind of serendipitous that I got the unified art added to my schedule. It was sort of like, surprise, you're teaching this. And I was really excited about kind of building it from the ground up.
It's amazing to kind of see all of these background experience kind of coming together like a puzzle piece into what you created. And at the time, like for myself, I remember thinking, oh, did I waste that time in my life of going to design school and then getting to be in an art class and seeing how it could be a really inclusive opportunity? It felt like those pieces were coming together.
Yeah.
But even just getting to like kind of being in the background of getting to see you create unified art, it's definitely been a highlight for me. So Erin and I would meet along with Katie Anderson, who is our communications team member for the school's team. We would meet about monthly, I think, once we started working on the Unified Art, and she would share the lesson plans with us and always ask us for feedback, and we would just say, this is perfect and beautiful, and we really don't have much feedback. We did enjoy getting to add in questions about inclusion, but she really created the lesson plan. So can you talk a little bit about the process in creating those lesson plans?
I wanted it to be really intentional. When I teach at my school, we're on a trimester schedule, and so I have 12 weeks with these students, and I decided to break it down into 4 different sort of segments. Coming into the classroom, the art projects are all about who am I and sort of identity-based self-portraits, but also I throw in some disability awareness type stuff. We just read this amazing children's book in class called Just Ask. And so just learning, hey, if you're not comfortable or you're not sure, can we just ask the teacher or the student, how can I accommodate you? What do you need to be best supported? So just learning how to start chatting and who am I, what makes me me. And then the second round of units, I guess, so it would be like, I don't know, week 4 through 6, we're doing projects about who are you. So again, starting to learn about each other, but working as pairs to create art projects together, learning how to work together. Then the next set of units was who are we? So that was more like, well, what exactly are we doing here? Like I tell students on day 1 that they're active agents for social change. And it's not just here in our classroom environment, but like, how are we going to move that message outward, which goes into that intentional curriculum. The last couple weeks and the last couple units are we are unified. So that's like making murals or making large pieces that are going to go out into the school. So often we would culminate with a gallery show at the very end and invite in community members and parents and staff members. And so it's really a movement that grows over time. As you build it and keep fostering it within the community, it kind of becomes bigger than just the classroom. And you were saying earlier that art as a vehicle, the vehicle could really be anything. I had a mentor teacher once that used chess. And he worked with young adults that were in the prison system, and he used chess as sort of like a metaphor for working together and partnership and teamwork and, just building a community. And so it doesn't really matter what the vehicle is. Right here, it's art, right, which I think is a great medium for expression and partnership, but it could be anything. Really what we're trying to do is foster this whole school engagement, the belonging, the inclusion, and then we carry it out of the classroom. So I tried to make the curriculum intentionally geared toward like starting with you, working toward me and you, then us, and then how can we even push it further?
Yeah, I think a lot of the times we have questions from educators about what type of orientation, how do we prepare these students to work together? And I think that's what's so incredible about this class is that it's built in of like getting to know themselves, getting to know each other, learning how to say those things, and have the voice in the class. What are some challenges that you faced along the way, other than being online, being given a class?
Most of us are back now. So one big thing I had to learn is that the ratio is super important. And that's really tough because you have to work with administrators and try to pass along this understanding that unless it's kind of a 50-50, it's going to be kind of skewed or disproportionate one way or the other. It could get cliquey. And so I talk to educators all the time, try to get your ratio so that everybody has a partner every day. And that's like almost impossible, right? Kids are going to be sick. We have some students who have work sites they have to get to. And often, we're working with a registrar and a school system that can't always accommodate that. But also making sure that like counseling departments and registrars and just kind of the whole school understands what Unified is and what being a champion school entails. So kids have to know what they're getting into and kind of, sign up for it and be excited about it and prepared for the fact that it's, not just an art class where you're working in a vacuum on your own project. It really doesn't matter how awesome your art project is if you're working in a vacuum and just like excelling yourself. What about the person sitting next to you who might need some accommodative scissors brought over or something like that? So yeah, those are two big things, is making sure that the school and the administration understands what this programming is. And also, I was actually just in communication with a teacher from Philadelphia asking me some of these questions. And I suggested, and what we do is we have like a homeroom, or we call it foundations. And once or twice a year, we show like a video during homeroom for all of the whole student population to understand, like, hey, we're a champion school. We have unified PE. We started unified music, unified art. Here's what it looks like. Here are some pictures so kids can sign up and get excited.
And really know what they're signing up for.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's a really important part of being intentional in the classes.
Yeah.
Grading
Grading too. I know that's on here later,
Yes.
but like grading.
Yeah, do you want to jump in and talk a little bit about how you've made your grading inclusive?
I've gotten some teachers and administrations that are concerned that this is not like based on Minnesota state standards for art. And it absolutely is, if not even more so than some of my other classes. So like some of our art standards are like present, connect, create. And when we are, scoring our students on their art projects, we follow a rubric. And so I've gotten a lot of questions about like, well, do you just throw out the rubric? Absolutely not. I can still grade every single student on whether they're showing patterns with repetition. I can grade every student on whether they present with an artist statement, and we do a gallery walk and they're able to showcase their artwork however that looks. And so everyone is actually graded on the same rubric, and everybody in the class can get an A and excel. I've also had some teachers write to me about how can we make sure that every student in the class is doing exactly the same project? What does success look like? I've had teachers tell me that they're running 3 projects concurrently because there are so many different accommodative needs. And what I say to that is I've had a lot of conversations with our special education staff about how success looks very different for every student. So sometimes success literally just means hanging out and chilling with buds, and like having being included in the conversation, having other students ask, what are you up to this weekend? And maybe just gluing some stuff to a piece of paper and trying out the patterns with repetition. So rather than relying on like fine motor skills and craftsmanship, I'm looking more at, again, like patterns and repetition. Burnishing with colored pencils, filling up all the white space, trying to draw characters from shape, and understanding basic like illustration techniques rather than like how well are you doing it and how does your craftsmanship look. So I think it's just like a reframing of like what can success look like for every student.
In your class, our students are each going away with an art credit, right? It's not an elective credit.
No, it's an art credit.
Yeah, and that's kind of something, that's the goal and the hope for unified classes, is that both students are receiving an art credit or a music credit or PE credit.
And they meet the art standards. And so, they do get an art credit.
Yeah, luckily so for the Minnesota teachers that are watching this, that's something that is, Erin's been really intentional at making sure that all of the lesson plans are meeting the Minnesota standards. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some surprises of how maybe even when you went into the class, were there students that surprised you with their abilities in this unified art class that maybe you didn't see?
I am like continually it's my favorite class to teach because I think there is a lot of like coloring outside the lines, which sometimes our neurotypical or general education students are very like almost like stiff in their art making because they're creating toward the teacher or they're creating toward the rubric and so I really love this class because there's so much expression going on. There's so much just like exploding out of the boundaries, and that makes for such just gorgeous art making and such variable outcomes, right? I'm walking around the room and just seeing artwork of a style that I've never seen before, which is super cool as an art teacher to see like, whoa, there might be even an art technique like scumbling, really small, super tight scribbling, but the student has done it to such a degree that it's like taking up a whole page with this very intricate, detailed line work. And so, there have been lots of moments when I'm walking around and I'm just like, guys, look at this. Isn't this so cool and expressive? And we do gallery walks all the time. And part of the gallery walk is that we are kind of students are electing to talk about which piece stood out to them and why. And so a lot of the art class is discussion and conversation around pieces and why certain things stand out to us.
What social skills have you seen developed in your class?
Oh man, yeah, just understanding how to be with peers, right? And how to student. I think, as I was saying in my previous job at Minnesota Independence College, a lot of it is like hidden curriculum that we just kind of expect our students to pick up on and understand. And a lot of that is socialization, right? Like appropriate amount of eye contact or appropriate amount of like touch or not touch, right? And so we do have to have a lot of conversations about like, okay, let's talk about what happened today and how like maybe hugs are something that we need to phase out. And here's why. Like, can we go to fist bumps instead? And like, what does it look like to be a high school student? Maybe a high school student doesn't hug friends when they walk in the door. And so we do have a lot of conversations about like social skills and how we show up in a classroom space, which are great conversations for everybody to have. I've seen incredible friendships foster out of unified classes. I've had multiple students go on to work in the field of special education. I have students who've been hired as PCAs for some of our other students. And so I think it also just kind of is a great opportunity for career growth as well.
What about, you mentioned your gallery, which is the most beautiful kind of culmination of the class, and I loved getting to see it. Can you explain maybe or share a little bit about the parents' reactions or experiences to getting to see, and not just the special ed parents, but gen ed parents that come as well?
Yeah, I think it's just all love. Like those gallery shows are incredible because it is just, I think my favorite part of the gallery shows is when students come in sporadically. It's not like they all arrive at the same time. So I'll have a student that's already there, pointing and showing like this is my project, this is my project, and then their partner will walk through the door, and it's like the face just lights up, and then it's like, oh, we want to introduce each other. Here's who I've been working with for the past 12 weeks, and then we're pointing at all the other art projects that we've done with our partner as well. And then we usually at the gallery show have a big culminating something, right? Like a mural. This past year it was that coral reef piece that you said you liked, and we have built into the curriculum that's going to be available for everybody. But the students actually ideated that on their own. They decided we want to do a coral. We had to vote. We had like 25 ideas. We slowly pared them down to the coral reef because they said we won't thrive without our differences, which I thought was really beautiful. One of my students just said that. I'm like, wow. So the gallery show can be really cool when they're walking their parents through, and then you come to this final piece that has a message like that. And again, it's bigger than art, I think, right? I think it kind of pulls heartstrings because it's about much bigger thematic concepts, right? And like belonging and inclusion that we all feel the need for, right? My general education students are just as they get just as much out of it and feel the same inclusion and belonging as their peers. So it's good for everybody involved.
I feel like so often like a student will drop something like that, like this gem of like we don't thrive without our differences, and it just amazes me and gives me so much hope for the next generation. And I like having a family member with a disability that is growing up and knowing that there's going to be this built-in infrastructure of students that understand and that know and that are passionate about advocating is very hopeful.
I think they're craving it. I think just every human is just craving connection and belonging, and I just feel it's hugely impactful for anyone who chooses to become a part of it in any way.
What are some kind of accommodations that you've made for the class to make it more accessible? So if a student might not be able to participate in a typical way.
Yeah. There's so many fun, adaptive, accommodative art supplies that we've come to learn about. And, it helps that we have an administration that has been so generous in being able to, let's try out this new tool. Can we get this? So, again, I'm not doing fine motor skill, like we're doing a pencil drawing or anything like that. We've gotten some really cool, like stamp pads, and we just bought like an accommodative, it like pulls out and you can put a large paintbrush on it and stuff like that. We have easels and things like that. So we're just kind of playing and just like trying different things. I found that like chalk pastels, maybe are a little too unwieldy, but oil pastels are really creamy and satisfying. I found that there's jumbo crayons where I just grew up with the little skinny guys. Even I love a jumbo crayon. We've got the scissors that you can operate with your elbow. And so even, my general education students think these things are fun too. And it's exciting to be like, hey, let's try this out and see how it works together. So yeah, I think just having this sort of open-mindedness about it, and some things won't work. Like sometimes we'll buy adaptive supplies and we're all kind of like, that didn't really make this any easier. That was okay. But they're coming up with new things every day. So it's been fun to be in that world and try different things out.
Well, one thing that is super exciting is that you are the Minnesota Art Educator of the Year. Would you mind kind of sharing that a little bit about what that has meant to you?
Yeah, it was an incredible honor, and I mean, it was in large part because of obviously the Unified Art work that I've been doing and working with Special Olympics. I'm not sure what to say.
It's an honor.
Yes, it's an honor. Thank you. So in 2025, I was given that honor through the Arts Educators Minnesota. So that's something they do every year. They honor a different art educator. And I've been in the running, I guess, ever since I started with Unified. But I think that the program just blew up. I have a lot of teachers reach out to me now and say, oh, I Googled Unified Art and you're the first person that came up. And so I think, working in the classroom and having, success with your students in the classroom is one thing, but I think that when you kind of start to take it to the next scale and ask yourself, how can I actually be of service to the entire nation of arts educators? How can I provide my curriculum so that other people do not have to reinvent the wheel? I think that that's probably why I was given that honor of Art Educator of the Year, because it's kind of like, well, this is bigger than me, and how can I be of service to our teachers everywhere so that I can help make this more accessible to many more schools beyond just where I'm at.
It has been such a privilege for Special Olympics Minnesota, for myself to get to see the impact that you're having, not just on the state, but now across the nation. I can't think of a more deserving, recognition of what you're doing every day. I would love to. We've talked a little bit about kind of this year 2 curriculum of lesson plans, and so that is what we're so excited to be unveiling this fall. And can you share a little bit about what work has gone into that and what the educators can expect with that?
Yeah, these are all art projects that I have created and vetted with my own students. So I've done all of these art projects and seen how it goes, and then I've sort of curated the projects that I think have been the most successful. They're all intentional, just like that first year of curriculum, where we're focusing on who am I, who are you, who are we are unified, culminating in a big gallery project, which is that Coral Reef show. But we've got some really fun projects coming out. There's one we did where it's tote bags, and I call it Carrying Our Message, and we're all making, we all made alphabet stamps with just basic pink pearl erasers, and then use linoleum blocks cut to the same size to do different borders. But you can share stamps, right? So the whole classroom is making stamps, and then you're creating your own bag with a message on it using the entire classroom's stamps. And so you can put whatever message you want on there related to inclusion. The idea is that it had, unified art on it or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of really fun new art projects on there, and we do all different kinds of media. There's printmaking on there. We've got some scratch board stuff. We've got self-portraits again. We've got lots of watercolor. We've got, I find that collaging big pieces with patterning is really a successful project where we can go big with big pattern stamps and then kind of maybe cut the shape out after we go crazy with our paints and our patterns and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I incorporated a poetry unit as well. I'm kind of trying to tie in a little bit of language arts with it. We got some really beautiful poetry out of the class, paired with a sun catcher. I call that one What Brings Light into Your Life. The poetry is about joy, and then there's a sun catcher. And then I'm also just trying to incorporate more artists with disabilities and also children's books. I find that students of all ages, even my 17-year-old jock, I'm story time, and they just come right on up, and they're just like so excited to be read to. And so we do pull from a lot of children's books because I just love children's books.
I
But
can attest now that I have a 2-year-old, I'm loving getting to reread.
oh
It's
yeah,
a great excuse.
and it's like children's books are beautiful because they can be really profound messages, but you have to be concise. And so I like that we're taking these, big picture ideas, like again, disability awareness, inclusion, belonging, and there's a lot of great children's books out there about artists with disabilities. And so all you gotta do is Google, right? And then all of a sudden you have like a great little Frida Kahlo book you can read before a unit on self-portraits and symbolism.
Awesome. Okay. Would kind of love to leave our audience with a last piece of advice or kind of a gem. What advice do you have for educators that are going to be bringing unified art to their schools?
Get excited. It's going to be the best class you've ever taught. You're going to become obsessed with it. There can be a steep learning curve, but you're going to be fine. You can always email me with questions. But no, I would just say try to redefine what success can look like. Let the students lead. I think that's huge. There is kind of this interesting shift that you have to make as an educator where we're really used to being up there at the front leading the way, and we have to shift so that student voices are deciding and leading. And so one thing I do with my class is I have the general education students lead a lesson at some point. They have to sign up and create a whole presentation, and they get up to the front of the class and they have to lead the whole class through a lesson. And usually it's pretty simple, crafty stuff, but I would say shifting the leadership role in the hands of the students is going to help alleviate the work that falls on the educator to lead a class that's sort of complex, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. So letting students lead and getting excited. It's going to be so fun. It's the best class ever.
Yes. We're a little biased, but it is the best
I
class
could talk
ever.
about it all day. Yeah.
If you are interested in doing unified art, now there's 2 years of lesson plans that Special Olympics Minnesota is able to provide. We're going to share it out in our monthly newsletter, as well as if you're interested, reach out to your Special Olympics Minnesota area staff. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
We are rolling into our last segment of the day, and that is the Opportunity Share segment. Listeners, this is the prime time for you to stay in the know of what's happening at Special Olympics Minnesota. My colleague Anna from the schools team is here to join me today.
Hi, Abby. Thank you for having me here today. It's been a super fun school year so far. I can't believe it's almost spring.
I know time has flown by. We are already in the middle of cool school plunge season. This winter, over 60 schools will host or attended a cool school plunge. I will also be taking my 24th plunge at the Minneapolis Plunge.
In addition to cool school plunges, it has been so fun going to Unified Basketball this winter. Are there any other UCS Unified Sports tournaments coming up in the spring?
Yes, our annual UCS Soccer State Tournament is coming up this spring on May 5th at the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. This is an opportunity for Unified Champion Schools to form a unified soccer team with their athletes and partners and join us in the Twin Cities for a day of friendly competition. Schools will compete in a tournament and play several different games with students from all over Minnesota. If your school is not playing in the tournament this year, there are still other ways to get involved. Schools can join us and be fans in the stands to cheer on their unified peers. It is a beautiful day to hang out outside and meet other schools. Did you know that the Minnesota Unified Soccer Team practices at the National Sports Center in Blaine?
Sounds like that will be an awesome day. If you are interested in coming out and watching Unified Soccer this year or participating in the games next year, make sure to let your UCS area coordinator know and they will walk you through how to get involved.
In addition to a Unified Soccer State Tournament this spring, we also have our first ever in-person Spread the Word Day celebration, Voices of Inclusion event, and Student Board of Directors application window. If you are interested in learning more about Unified opportunities this spring, let your UCS staff know right away. We look forward to seeing you in your school this spring. Anna, this spring I've noticed a new face in the office. Will you introduce our Build internship to our audience?
Absolutely. Special Olympics Minnesota partners with the Bethel University Build program. Each year, we welcome a first-year and a second-year Bethel Build intern to work with our UCS schools team during their class semester. The Build interns help us with projects such as mailing out important plunge and UCS resources, creating activities for events, participating in our staff meetings, and working on public speaking skills and professional development.
That's awesome. It is important to advocate for inclusive and meaningful work. Anna, do you have any advice for fostering an inclusive work environment?
That's a great question. I think fostering an inclusive work environment starts by making sure everyone feels welcome in the workspace and has meaningful involvement in projects and work that is being done. This is done by equally separating work to all team members so everyone can contribute and share their ideas. It is also important to be conscientious of others and make sure everyone has the resources they need and want. Everyone has a different work style, which is what makes working together as a team so fun, and it is essential that we value and show respect towards everyone we work with. Abby, what makes you feel included in the workforce?
I feel included when my coworkers include me on important emails and meetings. I also feel included when my team cheers on my accomplishments.
That's awesome. I agree.
As always, we are going to close with our athlete oath. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt.